Hold up, I'm about to spoil my latest short film, Abduction Production, so go watch that before you watch this. It's a comedy short film about a couple who fake an alien abduction because they want to spice up the relationship. So go watch that, it's very funny and you will enjoy it, I promise you, so go watch that. Link in the description. In the last scene of the film, the characters find themselves in a grave. This was a challenge because we didn't really have the budget or the resources to actually dig a real grave. So it had to be done with movie magic, or as I like to call it, months of work. Sorry. So here's how I pulled off a grave scene on a small budget and the many lessons I learned along the way. First, I started with a storyboard. I drew out the shots that I wanted, and I knew that if I limited the amount of effects that I had to do, it'd be much easier. So there aren't many shots in this scene that require set extension, keeping it mostly in close-ups and only showing the full extent of the grave when needed. Here's an example of a shot that needed to show the full extent of the grave. For this angle, we needed a character looking down into the grave. I knew I wanted it to look really stylized, so we didn't have much of a budget to pull this off, so we had our actor get on top of the tallest car we had while it was raining, so that was very safe. And we got the camera as low as we could. The plan was just to set up a green screen behind him, but it was getting really late on the shoot day, and it was going to take some time to set that all up, so my kind-hearted, naive past self made a decision for my future self to make my life really hard. So I decided, it's fine. I could use the real background on the location behind him and then add the grain in front of him. It would be easy. That was not the case. I brought the footage home and I quickly realized for me to get the shot I wanted, I needed to have to rotoscope by hand every single shot of Cletus. This was a painstaking process that took a solid week to get done. But after that was completed, I needed to put him in a virtual world. I modeled the grave in Blender using dirt textures to drive the displacement and some basic sculpting tools to get more of the shape of the grave. At the end of the day, it's just a long cube, so it wasn't that hard to make. I also added some branches and some grass at the top of the grave to give it more life. The background of the moon and stars were just royalty-free stock images I found from a site called unsplash.com. I exported out the rotoscoped videos as a TIFF sequence and added Cletus to the scene. While I was lighting the grave, I found that realistically the moon would cast a shadow into the grave. So that came as a really cool, happy accident, and it's probably my favorite part of the image. Then I added some film grain, I added some fog, some color correction, and bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself a very stylized image. To get those close-ups of the main characters, I knew we needed the base of a grave, so we needed something to actually lay on if I didn't want to have to do effects for each shot. So I hired the local theater department to make a faux dirt canvas that we could set up on C-stands and use it as sort of a backdrop for the grave. In color, it kind of looks odd, but in black and white, it actually looks very stylized and cool. So I'm very happy how that turned out. There, we could have the actors lay and film all those close-ups, and we wouldn't need any visual effects to enhance it. So I thought. I wanted in the scene dirt to fall on the actors as they got buried alive. So I thought it would be smart to actually throw real dirt on us, which is dumb. Don't do this because of this reason. I literally got dirt in my eye and it wouldn't get out of my eye for about an hour, and we had to halt all of production. It hurt so much and it was so unpleasant. So if you were to do this, get something thicker like sand or film dirt that's even just made for this, and don't just get a bucket of dirt from outside. So you live and you learn. Don't be a cheapskate. So inevitably, I just had to make the dirt falling on us a visual effect. But it wasn't CGI. All of the dirt being piled onto us is actually real dirt. I just filmed falling dirt on a green screen and then I added it to the shots that needed it, making sure to match the lighting as best I could. And it turned out to look fine. It's one of my least favorite parts of the scene. I wish we could have got it practically, but hey, you live and you learn. We aren't done with these effects just yet. We needed an establishing shot of the grave so the audience could orient themselves and figure out where the characters were. So that was this shot, a top-down angle of them in the grave. In my naive state, I knew we didn't have the means to boom the camera up all the way to get a top-down shot. So I thought it would work by just having two people stand and act the scene out with the backdrop behind them. This turned out to be the wrong way of doing it, which took days of work to trying to fix. The problem is that we're swaying around like we're standing, so it looked really weird, so I had to manually rotoscope out us from the background, freeze our bottom half, and then warp and stabilize anything into place so it looked like we weren't swaying. Then I just decided to make our bottom half very dark in the frame so you couldn't even see it at all. I used the same grave model from Blender and composited them in the grave. I only used this shot once, but it was essential for the audience, so I had to get it done. You know, as I think of it, I wish I would have just had the DP film out the second floor of a window and just got us laying down on a green screen. But hey, you learn stuff, and I hope you learned something here too.
Is our relationship stale?
Multiple UFO sightings across Coos County have people wondering, are we truly alone?
We are going to fake an alien abduction, baby!
Oh wow, do you see that in the sky? It looks like it's a flying saucer from outer space. Wow! That was really good.
I know, we should do acting.
Yeah,